All right, welcome back to The Explainer. Today we're diving deep into the mind of an ancient Taoist philosopher, Zhuangzi. We're going to see how his pretty radical ideas about justice, fairness, and even what it means to be useful can give us a brand new way to look at our own, often divided world. It's a journey that could literally change how you see, well, everything.
Okay, so let's kick things off with a question that might feel a little uncomfortable. We all want a just world, right? We fight for what we believe is right, we call out what's wrong. But what if that very search for justice, that constant need to draw a line in the sand, is the very thing that's fanning the flames of conflict?
To even begin to get our heads around this, we've got to travel back in time and meet a guy named Zhuangzi. He was a philosopher in ancient China who looked at the way we obsessively label everything, good, bad, right, wrong, and he didn't see progress. He saw a trap. He thought these rigid boxes we put everything in were actually stopping us from living in a much more real, a much more harmonious way.
And there's this incredible story that just nails this idea. So you've got this wise hermit, Shu Yu, and the great Emperor Yao comes to him, super proud, and says, "I've done it. I've taught everyone the difference between right and wrong." You'd think that's a good thing, right? But Shu Yu's response is, whoa. He basically says, you haven't enlightened them, you've punished them. You've basically scarred them, mutilated their natural way of being.
And this all points to a core Taoist idea, Wang Ren Yi, which translates to something like forgetting righteousness. Now hold on, this doesn't mean becoming some kind of villain, not at all. It's about letting go of that need to constantly judge, to label every single thing you do. The real goal? It's to act from a place of spontaneous compassion, doing what the moment calls for, without needing that little pat on the back for being right.
So you can see the big contrast here, right? On one side, you have our typical idea of justice. It's all about us versus them, the good guys and the bad guys. And that system, well, it justifies punishment, it justifies exclusion, and it pretty much guarantees conflict. But Zhuangzi points to something else. He calls it the way, or the Tao, and it's like a river that just flows right past all these little dams we build. It's what allows for real, genuine connection, exactly because it washes away all those lines we draw to keep us apart.
It's funny. You can actually see this idea pop up in a story that's probably really familiar to a lot of you, the Good Samaritan. Think about it. The priest, the Levite, they were following their rule books, their checklists of what was right to do, but the Samaritan? He just acted. It wasn't some big moral calculation. It was just a gut reaction, a human response to seeing someone in crisis. He totally forgot righteousness and just helped the person right there in front of him.
Okay, so if justice can be a trap, then we've got to ask, what about its close cousin, fairness? I mean, we are obsessed with the idea of fair competition, fair play. But could that also be just another kind of trap?
Let's use an example from a movie a lot of us love, Dead Poet Society, to dig into this. Think about a desk. What's a desk for? It's simple, right? It's got a clear, established, useful job. You sit, you study, you put your books on it. That's the rule. It's the norm. We don't even question it.
But then, what does Mr. Keating do? He gets up and stands on his desk. From a purely practical standpoint, this is totally useless. It breaks every rule of deskness. It serves no function. He's literally deconstructing what a desk is even for.
And yet, in that completely useless act, something incredibly profoundly useful happens. He gives his students a new perspective. Literally, by breaking that simple rule, he creates this huge breakthrough moment, a kind of deep learning you could never get just by following the instructions.
And bam, that's another classic Zhuangzi idea right there. Wu-yung, qi-yung, the uselessness of the useless. Mr. Keating's useless act was actually incredibly useful. Zhuangzi's whole point is that real value, the deep stuff, is often found when we defy the expected function of things. When we let go of what something is supposed to be for, we create space for something much, much bigger.
Okay, so this clash between the rules and a deeper reality, it's captured so perfectly in another one of Zhuangzi's stories. You've got this stuffy government official, Zichan, and he runs into a man named Shintiga who's missing a foot. And Zichan immediately gets on his case, right? Hey, don't you know your place? Step aside for a minister? He's totally caught up in the social rule.
But Shintoga's response, man, it is just devastating. He says, look, for 19 years I've studied with my teacher, and not once has he ever made me aware that I'm missing a foot. But you, the first thing you do is come looking for me based on my physical body. Wow. I mean, the official sees the label, the disability, the rank. But the teacher just sees the person.
This just blows up our whole idea of where ethics even come from. See, there was another famous philosopher, Mencius, who thought goodness comes from the inside out. He said, we have this innate compassion built in, and that's why we do good things. But Zhuangzi, he flips that completely on its head. He says, no. True ethical action isn't about what's in you. It's a response to what's outside of you. It's that call for help from someone else that yanks you out of your own head and forces you to act.
So how do we do that? Well, Zhuangzi's answer is to cultivate something called a su xing, an empty mind. And before you think that means just, zoning out, that's not it. It's not a blank mind. It's a mind that's been emptied of all the junk, all the prejudices, the ego, the rigid ideas of this is right, that is wrong, this is useful, that is useless. It's about getting to a state of being completely open, completely receptive, so you can finally see the world as it actually is, not just how you think it is.
And that empty mind is what makes this kind of radical action possible. The Samaritan doesn't just offer a hand, he completely flips the script, making himself the servant and the victim the master. Shintugaga's teacher doesn't see a flaw, he only sees a student. It's this kind of radical hospitality where you truly put the other person first. And again, it's not a calculated move. It's a spontaneous, unprompted reaction.
So this is where it all comes together. When you start to let go of that white-knuckle grip you have on justice, on fairness, on usefulness, even on your own identity as a good person, that's when you arrive at the ultimate destination of Zhuangzi's philosophy. See, the point isn't to stand on the moral high ground and feel superior. The point is to be free, truly, deeply free.
And this freedom, it has a beautiful name, Xiao Yao Yo, which means free and easy wandering. Just picture that for a second. Moving through your life without that constant grinding pressure to be right, to be useful, to be better than the next person. It's this effortless way of being that comes when you embrace the useless, when you empty your mind of all that judgment, and you just wander.
So we want to leave you with a final thought to wander with yourselves. What could happen? What new ways of seeing things? What surprising things might you do? What unexpected freedoms might you find if you could just let go, even for a minute, of that exhausting need to always be right? Thanks for joining us on The Explainer.